Hey folks, I want to start off this week with pointing out what we still very much like here in 2022 in the technology space, despite the recent pullback that we've seen from all sorts of high multiple tech stocks to even much larger ones. In 2022, we still really like semiconductor stocks. Now, there is a fundamental story here, a growth story, a cyclical growth. Think about all the more electronic devices that are coming to market, and the more powerful they are, the crazy demand for chips, the backlog that we have with global shipping, with cars, and so on and so forth. I think everyone's kind of read about that. So that's one reason to be bullish semiconductor stocks. Again, that's basically computer chips. Now, if you want to talk about the optics, which is what we try to do for a good part in these videos, here's a couple ways of looking at it. Now, this is a very simple chart of the SMH ETF. This represents the Vanic Semiconductor Etf, basically, up and to the right, if you will. You can see it's been one heck of a run. Now, quite frankly, it is arguably somewhat overextended. I'd like to use logarithmic charts on something like this. So if you use logarithmic charts, which I would encourage everyone to do, you can see, it's a little bit less crazy, but nevertheless, we are actually quite extended above the 200-week moving average. Now, that's the absolute story, and quite frankly, these growth stories can continue much more. If you look at a chart of Amazon and Netflix at the time, they completely disregarded any of these sort of near-term or intermediate-term overbought and oversold things. But if you look at SMH and you divide that by, say, the NASDAQ 100, this gives you like the relative strength picture. This is the kind of stuff that really gets me interested. I see that semiconductor stocks, which have basically been flat for the most part last year versus the NASDAQ 100, is actually now starting to show great relative strength again. You can kind of draw the lines this way if you want to. So I really like this, not just in absolute terms, but also as a place to park money in 2022 in the tech space versus other parts of the tech space. Within this entire semiconductor space, one stock that a lot of people know of, but I think very few people are aware of the awesome junctures the stock is at right now, is Micron Technology. Let's start off with a near-term picture, but the bigger term picture is going to be much more interesting. And you can see here too, we draw some simple lines. You can see a stock that has really held support nicely. Now it's trying to break higher again. I'm not saying this is going to be an immediate term breakout. I think January, the first quarter, is going to be likely quite choppy, and we'll see at some point a 15% pullback in equities, broadly speaking. But for 2022, more broadly. Now, really interesting is where it gets on the long-term monthly chart. This is a multi-year chart. In fact, it's this chart back to the highs here goes back to the year 2000. And that's exactly why this is so interesting. You can see that this stock took very long to get itself all the way back to where it was at the peak of the internet bubble in basically the year 2000. And this to me is really what's interesting. Again, this is a monthly chart. This is a long-term chart. Most people's time horizons is a few weeks. And this is really where the real money is being made, right? By focusing on the real big picture. Look at this as a source of not only absolute, but even also relative strength. So there you go, semiconductor stock, something we really like in 2022. Micron Technology being one of the standouts. Hope it helps. We'll see you again soon.